so much, everyone. Thank you for joining this session about innovation through Azure Red Hat OpenShift and Azure OpenAI. My name is Ignacio Riesgo, and with me I have Courtney Grosch, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Grosch, and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager that works on Azure Red Hat OpenShift, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today. So I'll hand it back over to Ignacio to get started.
Perfect. So thank you so much, and let's start it. Let's start. First of all, what we are going to talk today is about understanding what is the code and what are the products, behind our products that we target to two different audiences. The first one is the developers, the people writing the code, but the second one is also the platform engineers, what we call developers, the people that write the code that enable developers to be as productive and to infuse AI into their code. So how do we do that, and why do we do that, and why we consider that Red Hat is also a great company to leverage the power of open source and AI? Because we see a lot of synergies, a lot of similarities between what happens with open source in the last 30 years and what is happening today in AI. In AI today, we have a number of open source projects that are driving the innovation inside the AI. And what we are doing at Red Hat, what we want to do as Red Hat is again put access to all those open source projects, clean the mess, facilitate the usage of all that innovation into our products. So let's start with, if you think that this is something that is not going to impact you, think twice, because we see today that already 80% of enterprises will have deployed generative AI-enabled applications. So AI is not about something that is large language models, it's not about the OpenAI, it's about a lot of developers and a lot of companies infusing that AI, creating small models and infusing that AI into their applications. And we see, and Gartner is telling us that by 2026, 80% of the companies will need to do that. So where we start, how we can help you, what are the different products that are needed in order to prepare and to use this new stack? Let's start with the basics. We believe that AI needs hybrid cloud. And in fact, it's not only us who believe that AI needs hybrid cloud, but IDC is also telling us that already 93% of the companies are using multiple infrastructure clouds. So it's not attached or only capable to use with one single vendor, but also 81% are using already multiple public clouds and private clouds. So definitely we see that AI, because of the workloads, because of the intensity of the development that is needed, needs hybrid cloud. Probably you are going to train your model in one cloud, and then you need to use your model in a different cloud. On top of that, that is the infrastructure, what we put. First of all, OS. And we believe that definitely Linux, that is already running 90% of the public cloud workloads, is the OS to follow. We have our own version that is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, that, as you know, is enterprise grade of the Linux OS. OS is the first step. Second, you need a platform to run on your apps. And for that, you have Kubernetes. Kubernetes, as you all know, is right now the open source project that is driving most of the workloads. And we believe that OpenShift, that is our enterprise-grade version of Kubernetes, is the way to run your apps. So we have open source as the origin, hybrid cloud as the first step, Linux as the OS, an app platform like OpenShift. Now the key question is how we infuse intelligence, artificial intelligence, and machine learning on top of that. And first, we need to believe and we need to think that AI is not only something that developers are impacted by. AI is a team initiative, from business leadership to the data engineers, to the apps developers, to the IT operations. It's a joint effort. During the last 20 years, we have mostly been the app developer and the IT operations working together. Now we have a new component that is the data scientists that need to prepare the model. So we need to understand what are those people doing, what are the data engineers going to prepare, and how we are going to consume that model through the development. So everyone will have a role. The business leadership needs to define what is the set of the goal, what is the app going to deliver, what is the purpose. Then the data engineer needs to gather and prepare that data. The data scientist needs to develop the model, and then the app developer needs to integrate that model into their application, and IT operations needs to ensure that all of this is supported by the right infrastructure. So What is the deliverable of everyone? Well, it depends. The data engineer needs to prepare the data storage, the data lake, the data preparation, and the stream, how we are going to infuse all that data. The data scientist needs to prepare the notebooks, how that data is going to be consumed, what is the inference that we are going to apply to that data, and then prepare that model so the app developer can integrate that model into their application and ensure a proper CI/CD into their application with the inference that that model is going to create. And finally, the IT operations team needs to ensure that all of this is run across a physical, virtual, private, and public cloud, even the edge, in order to incorporate all that new data that is driving and creating at the edge. So now let's start talking about products, because we have OpenShift. And for OpenShift, I would like to introduce Courtney. Courtney, please, let's go and deep dive into the products available.
All right, so Ignacio touched on this a little bit before, but let's first start off with OpenShift. OpenShift is going to be what delivers that comprehensive application platform. So customers are going to get the fully integrated development and operational productivity features such as IDE, runtimes, build pipelines, monitoring, and service mesh, all on top of upstream supported Kubernetes. By providing this pre-assembled, opinionated app platform, it's going to allow organizations to accelerate time to value and time to market to help optimize costs by helping teams focus on building, deploying, and scaling applications on a trusted and consistent hybrid cloud platform, whether that be on-prem, in the cloud, or at the edge. Now, since we have an understanding of OpenShift, let's dig into Microsoft Azure Red Hat OpenShift, or Arrow. Arrow is going to give you the same consistent and flexible enterprise Kubernetes experience of OpenShift, but it's going to be managed for you by a team of global site reliability engineering experts. As a customer, you're going to be able to use the cloud the way it was meant to be used, on demand, and with the flexibility to scale and collaborate as you need, when you need, and where you need. So since Arrow is a jointly managed product between Red Hat and Microsoft, what exactly does that mean for you? There's going to be multiple benefits for this, and let's start with the integrated development tools and Azure solutions. Because this is a joint product, this means that Arrow is going to integrate with both the OpenShift tooling as well as the Azure ecosystem that provides more developer and management tools, which we'll get into a little bit more later. But the benefits this provides DevOps teams is large. This means that they can choose the tools that best suits their teams and workloads. Customers are also going to get that joint support and engineering. This is really fundamental to how Arrow was created and is continually operated. If you have an issue and you're needing to submit a support ticket, you're only going to have to submit one ticket. And this is going to go to both Microsoft and Red Hat, and our teams work together to find a solution. This means that it's going to speed up the resolution times for issues that you may have. You're also able to deploy from the Azure portal, which is going to make it easier for you to get started faster. We also understand that security is a prime objective for you as a customer, and it's built into Arrow from both the OpenShift and Azure perspectives. Our teams are always monitoring for CVEs, and they're always identifying updates and fixes before they become an issue. Also, as an Arrow user, customers are going to benefit from a huge range of compliance solutions that's offered by Azure. Finally, as a customer, you can take advantage of single invoicing between Microsoft and Red Hat for Arrow. And if you have Microsoft Azure committed consumption spend, you'll be able to use that towards Arrow. Now, something I want to highlight in the benefits of being a joint platform are these integrated development tools and Azure solution. And that really ties back into what Ignacio started this presentation with, and the fact that you're going to be able to run your AI-enabled applications. Now, before we get into a demo here, I want to take a second and show you what exactly do are those different tools that are available to you. So on the left, you can see the OpenShift tools that we commonly see developers using. And then on the right, the Azure tools that we see. And you can see here that Azure OpenAI does integrate with Arrow. Let's take a look at some key stats, though, of what can Arrow do for your teams. You're overall going to be able to improve efficiency and productivity with this product. You can see here that in a report, a total economic impact report by Forrester that was just done in March, that developers see a shortened development lifecycle by 70%. There's a 50% improvement in operational efficiency. And finally, there's a 65% faster application development time, which means that your employees are going to be able to work on new and innovative projects rather than managing their platform and spend the time on things that matter most to them. All right, so the reason you're all here today is really to see how does Arrow integrate with Azure OpenAI. So let's get into it here, and you're going to see us deploy a chatbot. All right, so let's get started with the demo. The first thing that we're going to need to do is deploy an Azure OpenAI instance, which we have already deployed one, as you can see, and it does have a healthy active status. So we're set here. You can also see the GPT-35 which is what's going to be running on the back end. Our application will then be deployed on top of Arrow, and we have already deployed that Azure Red Hat OpenShift cluster, which you can see on the screen. Now, if we go to the cluster itself in the developer view, we're going to see how easy it is to deploy our application with Azure OpenAI. The first thing that we're going to need to do is deploy our container image that we have already prepared. We have the application name, and so we have everything that we need in that respect, but we're going to need to set the first secret, which is the URL of Azure OpenAI instance. We're also then going to set up our OpenAI API key, and that's going to be the secret that we need to set in order to enable our application to be used on the back end, which will be GPT within Azure OpenAI. So we're going to fill this out here, the key. Now we're going to proceed to deploy or hit create. You'll see that the deployment is already running, and if we navigate through the application, we'll be able to see the front-end application deployed on Arrow. So now what that means is, as an end user, we're going to be able to interact with this application, which is viewed in this graphic of where the end user comes in. And let's ask the application a question. What is Azure Red Hat OpenShift? Once we click submit, the front-end application is going to be deployed on Arrow, and it will contact the back end, which is Azure OpenAI, and we'll get a response back, as you can see. Then we can also add more interactions to this, like what are the benefits of Azure Red Hat OpenShift? This question will also be asked through the application of Azure OpenAI, and you can see how we can have continuous interactions from each question. We can also interact with different features on top of Arrow. So you can see here, if we go into resources, you can view the logs and you can see the different questions that have been asked. And then from here, we can also go to the Azure Monitor, and you can see that with Arrow and also Azure OpenAI, you see the amount of interactions that the application has had, as well as when they happened. You can use this piece of monitoring to really leverage everything. And finally, from here, if you want to access this demo, it is fully public and available on GitHub. So you are able to go into the resources, which let me go back here and we can see what's available to you. Yeah, so from here, you can go into resources, you can get access to this demo, and you can also check out our developers.redhat.com that provides access to more Red Hat projects and products. Make sure to scan the QR code to get even more access to Arrow resources. And Ignacio and I really appreciate you listening to this presentation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, and looking forward. Take care.